I'm Robert MacCloy. I'm the CTO and co-founder at Scrunch AI. So Scrunch AI is a Series A venture-backed startup that focuses on helping companies understand how they show up in the new generation of AI search engines. It's a very competitive market. It's very hot. Much more of that marketing journey is happening inside a tool like ChatGPT. Fundamentally, your customer is just going to come in a different way, show up at different times. How do you deal with a world where that's the case? Scrunch, maybe unsurprisingly, is a pretty data-intensive application. I mean, everything we're doing really is about ingesting tons of data about how you show up in these new search platforms and like what's happening in your access logs from crawlers and things like that. We knew when we started building a company that it was going to be like a data intensive company and we would need to invest in data tooling. When we initially built the app, we were doing more of our data processing through things like GCP PubSub and BigQuery and like streaming data processing a little bit. And those are good technologies, but they are like really heavyweight to build features with. It's a lot of effort and making changes to it can be a pretty heavyweight process. We're building this feature, a feature we call agent traffic, which is all about basically like taking kind of real-time access logs from customer websites where they're getting visits from crawlers. And those have a big impact, obviously, on whether or not you show up in ChatGPT, as you'd expect. So it's really useful information. The data loads can be very variable. Like some sites are not very popular, some sites are super, super popular. So you can imagine that the traffic's kind of all over the place. And we knew that one of the things people really wanted to see of this feature is like to get this sort of real-time sense of what's happening on your website. If I'm using ChatGPT, for example, in some cases, it will interactively go make a request to your website. It's really cool if people can actually see that happen live, like while they're doing a ChatGPT interaction. It makes it really concrete and visceral, kind of what's happening here. We didn't really have a great solution to this problem of showing our customers real-time information about what was happening. We knew that kind of the current data infrastructure we had was like not going to provide that real-time experience. We were considering options like using classical stream processing, but that felt like a really big lift for where we were as a startup. So we had heard about Tinybird, and as we were looking around at solutions, the thing that was super appealing about Tinybird was just that the developer experience was like so clearly simpler than anything else we saw. Being able to ingest events natively, then being able to define the way you wanted to summarize those events, and then to be able to actually define API endpoints and just query directly the data you want. I mean, like end to end, it solves this problem really, really nicely. Almost the entire problem is kind of within Tinybird itself. And like to actually set up one of these data pipelines and be able to go from access logs to like these summarized views where you can group things by different types of traffic felt pretty magical. And so we sort of decided to build the MVP of the feature on Tinybird, and that's proven to work like pretty well. We honestly were able to get the MVP up and running within a day. We were able to get to proving out the value of the feature faster because we didn't have to build a bunch of infrastructure first. And obviously that as a startup, like that's pretty great. The faster you can go as a startup and the less overhead you have when you're trying to stand up new features, the better. And the fact that you can kind of iterate on these features so fast and yet still get that performance is the key differentiator for Tinybird. The fact that we don't have to worry so much about like accidentally blowing ourselves up on cost is actually like a pretty big selling point as well. We've seen so much underlying growth, like the business itself has probably tripled in size since we first started experimenting with Tinybird. We will be cost inefficient if it means going faster. That's a trade-off I'm happy to make, right? But it's nice to not have to make it. And so far that does seem to be the case. I've definitely had the distressing conversation with our CFO who's like, where did this $20,000 spend come from? And you're like, well, somebody forgot to put a where clause in a query. And we haven't run into anything like that with Tinybird. It's such an early market that number one, nobody is mature, and certainly we're not mature. We have a lot of work to do as a company. We have a lot of features to build, a lot of places the product can get smoother and have fewer sharp edges. Sometimes the level of effort that it takes to do something can really change your plan in terms of like how ambitious you are with certain features. And so I think with Tinybird, the things that's exciting as we sort of think about adopting it across more of the product and more of the business is like, maybe we compress those timelines so much that we're actually just able to like say yes to more things. Sometimes just being able to say yes a lot, especially in a business where you're serving really sophisticated customers, can have a huge impact on the business as well. The ability to try things out and be able to make sort of a portfolio of bets instead of going all in on one thing is really helpful. Tinybird lets us go from raw data to features like data backends that are ready to be incorporated in our app and ready to power customer value like faster than anything else I've seen, with like less ceremony and less overhead. And then frankly, less like concern for what it's going to look like to run it in production than any other system I've seen so far, with a combination of the technology and the developer experience and the cost model all together go into making that the case. It's a really exciting tool. It's a really great tool, especially at a startup where you have to go fast. And we look forward to using more of it.